Thank you. And now Jack Johnson, CU Boulder, will lead us in the pledge.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The House will come to order. Mr. Connor, please read the roll.
Representative Arndt.
Yeah, that's all right.
Baisley. Beckman. Benavides. Byrd.
Thank you.
Bockenfeld. Buck. Buckner.
Present.
Buenteo. Caravale. Carver. Catlin. Coleman.
Let go.
Cutter. Duran. Escar. Exum. Froelich. Galindo. Garnett. Geithner. Gonzalez Gutierrez. Gray. Hanson. Herod. Representative Herod.
Excused.
Putin. Humphrey. Jackson. Harkes Lewis. Harkes Lewis.
She's here, so excused.
Kennedy. Kip. Kraft-Tharp. Landgraf. Larson. Lewis. Liston. Lontine. McCluskey. McKean. Representative Harkes Lewis is present. McKean. McLaughlin. Melton. Michelson Janae. Mollica. Representative Mollica.
Excused.
Neville. Pelton. Ransom. Rich. Roberts. Sane. Sandridge.
That's right. Gabby Coffee, Red Bull.
Sandridge.
Sandridge. Yes. Excused.
Singer.
Excused.
Sirota. Snyder. Soper. Sullivan. Tipper. Tatone. Valdez A. Valdez D. Van Winkle. Weissman. Will. Williams. Wilson. Good morning. Madam Speaker Becker.
Excused. With 59 present, 6 excused, no absent, no vacancies, a quorum is present. Representative Jaquez Lewis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's a pleasure to serve with you this morning.
And it is definitely a pleasure to serve with you.
Madam Chair, I move that the reading of the Journal of Monday, March 18th, 2019 be dispensed with and approved as corrected by the Chief Clerk.
Members, you have heard the motion that the journal be approved as corrected by the Chief Clerk. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion still passes.
Thank you.
Are there announcements or introductions? Announcements and introductions. Representative Landgraf.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, if you get a chance, sitting on the side from the University of Colorado are physical therapy students. So please say hi, give them a hand, and if you get a chance, go meet them. They're all very nice and very smart.
Welcome to the Capitol this morning. Representative Lontine.
Thank you, Madam Speaker Pro Tem. It's an honor to serve with you.
And it's my honor to serve with you, Representative Lontine.
Members of the Health and Insurance Committee, we do not have an upon adjournment committee hearing today, so have a few minutes of fun. Thank you.
Representative Wilson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker Pro Tem. Colleagues, I announced yesterday, I want to emphasize today, and I'll announce again tomorrow, the Sportsman's Caucus will be having their hot dog day on Thursday, but we've got special guests that will be with us. The Rural Alliance Group will be with us, some 58 people from school districts across the state of Colorado. So be sure to check and see if your people will be there, and we can all get together for hot dogs and fellowship, and also have the Rural Sportsman's Caucus there in the basement. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Weissman.
Thank you, and good morning, Madam Speaker Pro Tem. Judiciary members, the calendar does not deceive. We are not meeting this afternoon. Benefit to having worked until 8:30 last night. If you just can't get enough of the depth and rigor of what we do, I commend you to the LCS quarterly forecast that just came out Friday. It's 100 pages or so and full of all sorts of interesting stuff, and we'll be back at it on Thursday.
Representative McLaughlin.
Thank you, Madam Speaker Pro Tem. House Education Committee, we are meeting in 107 today, so don't go across the hall, go downstairs. And we are listening to Bill 1222 and 1196, and we are sure to have a good time. Don't forget the Joint Education meets for the last time for a while, and we're going to talk about Senate Bill 191. Sounds fun. Okay, thank you. See you there.
Representative Valdez.
Thank you, Madam Speaker Pro Tem. Members, tonight the Weed and Pest Control is having a reception at the Capitol Hill Tavern. Hope to see you there.
Representative Froelich.
I would like to invite the women of the chamber down to the well, please. We have a tribute to Women's History Month. And the exciting thing is, we're emptying the chamber by coming down here.
Oh, yeah, we are.
Beckman, Lontine. working.
Kimmy.
Yeah.
Lewis.
Are there any more women representatives in the chamber who would like to come forward?
Aren't.
Aren't.
I'm not leading.
Parent.
Aren't a woman. Women's History, Representative Harrod. Right. So can we, come on, Lantine. Maybe. Lewis. Aren't.
We're patient.
Aren't.
Oh, Tracy Kraftart.
She goes. She's good.
Could we please direct our attention to the podium?
Tribute red, please.
Thank you for that.
Thank you. Mr. Connor.
The House of Representatives convened in the 72nd General Assembly hereby extends sincere commendations to Colorado Women's History Month. In 1893, Colorado was the first state to give women the right to vote through popular vote, and a year later, Colorado was the first state to elect women to the state legislature. In 1894, Clara Cressingham, Frances Clark, and Carrie Hawley were the first 3 women elected in any parliamentary body in the world. Since 1913, more than 200 women have served in the General Assembly, including Helen Robinson, who became the first woman to serve in the Colorado Senate, Elizabeth Pellet, who in the 1950s was the first woman in a major leadership position and the first woman to run for Congress in Colorado, and Polly Baca, who became the first Latina state senator in a leadership position in America. Women legislators continue to play a vital role in addressing difficult social and economic issues and helping our country and the state of Colorado prepare for the future. With 47% of Colorado's legislators being women, Colorado is among the nation's leaders and has been for over a decade, with the State House having the first female majority chamber in Colorado's history. The members of the Colorado General Assembly recognize all female legislators, past, present, and future, and their struggles, accomplishments, and contributions they have made throughout history. On request of Representative Meg Froelich, given this 19th day of March, 2019, State Capitol in Denver.
Thank you, Mr. Randall. Representative Froelich.
Thank you for joining me in the well, my colleagues, and let's celebrate the fact that it's not unusual to have a woman holding the gavel. Lola Spradley was our first woman speaker. It's not unusual to have a woman Senate president, and we look forward to doing the good work of the people of Colorado.
Thank you, fellow women. I thought that was pretty clever. Are there any more announcements or introductions? Thank you. The next order of business is third reading. The next order of business is third reading. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 19-1024.
House Bill 1024 by Representatives McKean and Buentello, also Senators Todd and Corum, concerning creation of the Colorado Youth Advisory Council Review Committee in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker Pro Tem. I move for the passage of House Bill 1024 on third reading and final passage.
The question is the passage of House Bill 1024. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Randall, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Mr. Randall, please close the machine. With 54 ayes, 9 nays, 2 excused, House Bill 1024 passes. Mr. Randall, are there any co-sponsors? Last call. Please close the machine. Mr. Randall, please read the title of 1138.
House Bill 1138, Representatives Williams and Melton, all Senators Williams and Priola concerning the credit of a motor vehicle may receive for fees paid for a registered motor vehicle when the vehicle is sold before the registration expires in connection with making an appropriation.
Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker Pro Tem. I move for the passage of House Bill 1138 on third reading and final passage.
The question is the passage of House Bill 1138. Is there any discussion? Mr. Randall, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Mr. Randall, please close the machine. With 63 ayes, did I say close the machine? Yes, let's close that machine. With 63 ayes, no nays, 1 excused, the bill has passed. Co-sponsors.
Please close the machine. Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move to lay over House Bill 1160 one day to Wednesday, March 20th.
Seeing no objection, House Bill 1160 will be laid over 1 day as requested by the Majority Leader. Majority Leader, Mr. Randall, please read the title to House Bill 1205.
House Bill 1205, Representative Arndt, all Senator Cord concerning allowing reimbursement for expenses for members of the Restorative Justice Coordinating Council.
Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the passage of House Bill 1205 on third reading and final passage.
The question before us is the passage of House Bill 1205 on third reading and final passage. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Randall, please open the machine and members please vote. And thank you, Madam Speaker Pro Tem. Representative Escar and Lontine. Please close the machine. With 61 aye votes, 4 no votes, House Bill 1205 is passed. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Randall, please read the title to House Bill 1214.
House Bill 1214, Representatives Hansen and Senator Rankin concerning the requirement that the Joint Budget Committee recommend new methods to finance the state's ongoing capital needs.
Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the passage of House Bill 1214 on third reading and final passage.
The question before us is the passage of House Bill 1214 on third reading and final passage. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Randall, please open the machine and members please vote. Humphrey and McKean, please close the machine. With 65 aye votes and no votes, House Bill 1214 is passed. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 1217.
House Bill 1217, Representative Becker, also Senators Court and Tate, concerning the elimination of the 2% increase in the member contribution rate to the Public Employees Retirement Association for members in the local government division of the association.
Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the passage of House Bill 1217 on third reading and final passage.
The question before us is the passage of House Bill 1217 on third reading and final passage. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Randall, please open the machine and members please vote. Please close the machine. With 49 aye votes, 16 no votes, House Bill 1217 is passed. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Randall, please read the title of Senate Bill 95.
Senate Bill 95 by Senators Todd and Holbert, also Representatives Hansen and McKean, concerning the review of the funding formula for institutions of higher education.
Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the passage of Senate Bill 95 on third reading and final passage.
The question before us is the passage of Senate Bill 95 on third reading and final passage. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Randall, please open the machine and members please vote. Please close the machine. With 61 aye votes, 4 no votes, House Bill 95 is passed. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Randall, please read the title to House Bill 1206.
House Bill 1206, Representatives Coleman and Larson, all Senators Bridges and Lundin, concerning removing equity gaps in higher education by ensuring more students have access to supplemental academic instruction.
Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the passage of House Bill 1206 on third reading and final passage.
The question before us is the passage of House Bill 1206 on third reading and final passage. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Randall, please open the machine and members please vote. Buck, Valdez, please close the machine. With 63 aye votes, 2 no votes, House Bill 1206 is passed. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. The next order of business is General Order, second reading of bills. Representative Michelson Janae. You have heard the motion. Seeing no objection, Representative Michelson Janae will take the chair.
committee will come to order. With your unanimous consent, the bills will be read by title unless there is a request for a reading of bill at length. Committee amendments will not be read unless requested, as they are printed and in your bill folders. Floor amendments will be shown on the screen and on your iPads and not read unless requested. Bills will be laid over upon motion of the Majority Leader, and the coat rule is relaxed. Assistant Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move to lay over House Bill 1174 until tomorrow.
House Bill 1174 will be laid over until tomorrow. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 1194.
House Bill 1194, Representatives Lontine and Larson, all Senators Priola and Fields, concerning the discipline of preschool through second grade students enrolled in publicly funded education programs.
Representative Lontine and Representative Larson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to move the committee report on
To move the bill and the committee report.
I'd like to move the bill and the committee report for HB 1194.
To the committee report.
Thank you. So in committee, this bill was amended 5 times as the result of collaboration with the rural school districts, who have been a great partner in this. So we have a few amendments. We had one that clarified that the violations that would or violations that could be subject to the discipline could take place during school-sponsored activities. We also had a clarification that temporary exclusions or removals for issues that were not discipline-related, so think head lice or sickness, would not be subject to the provisions of the bill. We had a clarifying amendment that basically just streamlined language.
Sorry, Representative Larson, will you hold on a minute? Members, it's a little bit noisy in here. If we could just bring it down about 5 decibels, that would be fabulous. Representative Larson, please continue.
Great. Thank you, Madam Chair. We had an additional amendment that established a 3-day, a maximum of a 3-day exclusion period that could be extended based upon extenuating circumstances.
I'm really sorry, Representative Larson.
No worries.
Members, it is too loud in here. Please conduct business softly and pay attention to Representative Larson, if you will. Representative Larson, please continue.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And then the final amendment that we had basically clarified that none of there would be no new data collected or analyzed. This was necessary to eliminate the fiscal note that was attached to the bill. And with that, I'd like to move the committee report.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the Education Committee report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The education report is adopted. To the bill. Representative Lontine.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So House Bill 1194 does 4 things. It outlines more developmentally appropriate grounds for out-of-school suspension and expulsion of children in public preschool classrooms in kindergarten through 2nd grade. These are the years of developmental science has shown that children are still forming their understanding of the world and impressions of school. And as such, we've focused on these years intentionally. It lays out the conditions for school removal and focuses specifically on children who endanger others with their actions. If a child represents a safety threat or endangers others and appropriate alternatives have been tried, sending the child out of the building makes sense. It intentionally relies upon local administrators' assessment of each situation to determine whether the endangerment of others cannot be otherwise mitigated. That's one thing. Second, it creates the standards of how long children are to be kept out of school. Third, the bill clarifies what is and is not a suspension by making clear that school removals for disciplinary reasons should be treated as suspensions and removals for other reasons should not. And finally, it ensures that all local codes of conduct for all schools and districts are in compliance with these changes in statute, and that the school board annually, and that's it. So I also have an amendment. I move L008 because while this is a perfect bill, it needs a little bit more work.
The amendment has been properly moved and is before us. Please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this amendment just clarifies that the enrolling entity is responsible for making the decisions on when it is appropriate in all occasions of when a child should be removed. And I ask for an aye vote on the amendment.
Is there any further discussion on the amendment? Representative Wilson.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thanks to the bill sponsor for considering this amendment. We had a considerable discussion yesterday afternoon on how to retain some local control on this, and this amendment addresses that, still gives the flexibility to the local school entity to have some jurisdiction and actual supervision over this process. So I urge an aye vote on the amendment.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L008. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. L008 is adopted. To the bill. Is there any further discussion on the bill? Seeing none, the question, Representative Buck, sorry. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I just wanted to explain my no vote. And again, we are here at the state legislature, and we're making bills that affect our schools, and I appreciate the amendment that changes it a little bit. But my concern is if a teacher has issues and they're doing the best they can to try to educate all of the kids instead of just focusing on that one child, that gives them, again, they're losing a tool out of the toolbox to try to help them meet the needs of all the other kids for that one child that is challenged. So again, I just don't think that the state should be sticking their nose into that local area of what schools know is best for their school classes. So I asked for a no, and that's why reason I was a no on this bill, and please join me. Thank you.
Representative Baisley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, when we make a bill, the bill becomes law, provided, of course, that it passes all the way through both chambers and on to the governor, but it's a law. And this is, yet again, the state dictating to folks out on the local level, those that are in the field doing the work and making the local decisions, how they can execute their responsibilities. I think it's inappropriate for us to make this kind of a law, so I would urge a no vote with all due respect to my colleagues who have sponsored it.
Representative Buck.
Thank you, and I did have 2 points and I forgot the other one. The other one is that now I forgot it again. Oh, it's one of those days, you know, it's a long night. Not that I was in that committee. But so, again, if we're telling a teacher what they can or cannot do, or telling a school what they can or cannot do, we are still doing those types of unfunded mandates to the schools when it comes to services for that child, for what that child needs. And it's kind of those wraparound services, whether it's a human service, whether it's mediation, whether it's substance abuse, but what can we do for that child without the backs of the school districts having to fund the needs of that child? And again, if we don't help with the funding of what we're telling the schools to do or not to do, then I don't think we should be dictating what they think is best for them at that local level. So again, I ask for no.
Any further discussion? Representative Wilson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I understand the concern that the bill sponsors have and what they're trying to address with this bill, but one of the points that we made during the discussion and also yesterday during the amendment discussion is this is one of those classic urban versus rural issues. If we have in our classroom in a rural district a teacher who sends 6 students of color out of the classroom asking for suspension or expulsion, and they only send 1 that look like me, I'll have a conversation with that staff member. We've got a problem. Not with the students, but we've got a problem with that educator, and that that is not addressed in this bill. Two of the things that are additional reasons on this bill for you to consider is these students need extra help. That's not a question. This may come as a newsflash to you all, but if I expel a student, no matter whether they're a second grader or a sophomore or seventh grader, I have to provide educational services. It's not an option. They have educational services provided. This bill increases the amount of services because in rural areas we don't have another school. That came up in the conversation yesterday. We just transfer schools. When you've got building A or building A, you can't transfer schools. If you've got teacher A or teacher A, you can't transfer schools. So that is an issue. And no resources are provided in the bill. And I understand it's easier to deal with a bill that doesn't have a fiscal note, but what we're doing is betting that some other bills are going to provide this. And in all my years here, I haven't had the opportunity to pass a bill saying, I think maybe the resources will come from somewhere else. It's not a good idea, because if you plan on that, it might not happen. So I ask you to consider those points. I understand what we're talking about, and I'd be the first one to agree that K through 2 students don't need to be expelled for every little reason. But as an administrator, I also understand, and as a rural administrator, that you can have a pretty pointed conversation when you talk to the parent and say, I've got an option of expelling your child. Let's see what we can get worked out. So I ask that you carefully consider those points, and particularly, and I emphasize this, we are dancing around the problem. Students of color being sent out of classrooms are being sent out of classrooms by educators. Administrators only deal with that, and we do not address that in this bill at all. Thank you.
Representative McCluskey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I believe more than anything else that what we're doing in the classroom to support our students of color and our students of disability is probably the greatest impact we have in public education. And when we talk about our very youngest learners, those in preschool through second grade, the time they spend in a culturally responsive classroom, a classroom that accounts for their difference, their approach to learning, who they are as individuals, a classroom that promotes their social and emotional well-being, a classroom that helps them learn behaviorally how we need to facilitate learning in a classroom setting. It's probably the most important work we do for our students. We know those investments in early childhood education are key to our students' future success. I am a strong advocate for rural schools, and I believe that our rural schools are prepared and ready to do what's right for kids first. Yes, we support our teachers. We support our teachers in a variety of ways. One of the best ways we can support them when we have disruptive students or students with special needs in our classroom is by providing professional development opportunities, opportunities where they can better learn how to deal with a child who may bring differences into the classroom. Expelling or suspending a student, removing them from that environment, is not what's best for our kids. And if that step does need to be taken, we need to keep that child in the school. We need to continue to offer them supports. We need to continue to offer that student the right kind of education so that they can get back to their classroom and engage in learning in a healthy and productive way. Yes, the data shows us there are adverse impacts for our students with disabilities and students of color in this particular behavioral management technique, expelling and suspending our youngest learners out of the classroom. I am so proud to stand here today and say we can't continue this practice and to say it's for our kids. We have to find a way to better support our teachers, better support our administrators, but I believe all of us in urban and rural and suburban settings can do that. We can achieve this. This is a civil rights issue. This is an issue that says we are not going to let our kids of difference, our kids of color, be treated any differently any longer. Thank you for your support of this bill, and I urge an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion? Representative Buentello.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate the opportunity to come down here. And, you know, there's been a lot of discussion about administration, about, you know, local control, you know, a lot of legal terms that are frankly above my pay grade. And frankly, I think they're a distraction because this bill is fundamentally about kids, about our youngest kids, our youngest students. It's about predominantly students of color and students with disabilities like my son Noel, who's sitting at my desk right now. This is about his right, his fundamental right to an education. It's a right that I've seen denied time and again here in the state of Colorado as administration fails our students by taking the shortcut of suspending and expelling our youngest students simply because student discipline is a problem. It's hard. It takes years to master. It's something that we're constantly perfecting. This bill is about students like my son. It's about students like the ones that I've served in the classroom over the last 10 years. And whether we want to admit it or not, these children are falling through the cracks and are being denied their fundamental right to education. This is as much of a civil rights issue as it is an education issue. And with that, I rise in strong support of this bill. Please vote aye. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of House Bill 1194. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. 1194 is passed. I heard you, Representative Williams, loud and clear. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 1179.
House Bill 1179 by Representative Gray concerning the financial risk profiles of legal investments of public funds.
Representative Gray.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move House Bill 1179 and the Finance Committee report.
To the committee report.
In the committee report, the county treasurers who were working on this bill sat down with the state treasurer's office. They made some conforming amendments and removed some language in order to get all the various treasurers on the same page. I'd ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the Finance Committee report. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee report is passed. To the bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, House Bill 1179 does a couple things with respect to investments that state and local governments hold in the state of Colorado. One is it deals with clarifying the nature of a negotiable certificate of deposit, noting that that is a public deposit and not a public investment. I know that's a point, that's a sticking point for a lot of you. And so, given that, we're getting rid of the ambiguity, clarifying that, and making some conforming clarifying amendments to our public investment statutes. I would ask for your enthusiastic support.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of House Bill 1179. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. 1179 is passed. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 1213. No committee report.
House Bill 1213 by Representative Titone, also Senator Briola, concerning the compensation payable to a member of the Board of Directors of an urban drainage and flood control district.
Representative Titone.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move House Bill 1213 and the House Energy and Environment report.
Oh,
there was no report. Just the bill.
To the bill.
Thank you. I forgot there was no report. We didn't amend anything. There was no need to. This is a really simple bill. You know, back when they changed the compensation for special districts, this special district, the Urban Drainage Flood Control District, got left out. And the person who should have seen that apologized in the committee, saying that he should have caught that and we should have had this caught up. But this is just to get the compensation for the board of this special district to the compensation levels that all other special districts have, and I urge an aye vote on this.
Representative Beckman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's an honor to support the Urban Drainage Flood Control District Director compensation. I was actually on that board for many years, and it's one of the finest run organizations in the Denver metro area. They provide our drainage systems in a very orchestrated way. We're very unique to have urban drainage and flood control in this metro area, because a lot of cities and counties across the nation don't have this kind of coordinated district. So this is a good bill, and I ask for a yes vote.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of House Bill 1213. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. 1213 is passed. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 1030.
House Bill 1030 by Representatives Soper and Roberts, all centered ranking concerning creating the crime of unlawful electronic sexual communication.
Mr. Representative Roberts.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move House Bill 1030 and the Judiciary Committee report.
To the committee report.
In the committee, in Judiciary Committee, we adopted a strike below, so this committee report is the bill. What this bill does is it already is a crime to communicate unlawful sexual communications to children who are 14 years or younger if you are 4 years or more older than them. This bill extends that so the victims are to victims who are 15, 16, and 17 years old. It still keeps the 4-year age range in place. The person has to be in a position of trust. It just extends an already existing statute to all children under the age of 18. I'd ask for an aye vote on the committee report.
Is there any further? Representative Soper.
I'd just like to add, I also ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of the Judiciary Committee report. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The Judiciary Committee report is adopted. To the bill. Representative Roberts.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Judiciary Committee report is now the bill. I'd ask for an aye vote.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of House Bill 1030. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, no. The ayes have it. 1030 is passed. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 1220.
House Bill 1220 by Representative Sullivan concerning allowing a court facility dog to accompany a witness during testimony.
Representative Sullivan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move House Bill 1220 and the Judiciary Report on second reading.
To the committee report.
On the committee report, we just had some language concerns, changing some ands, and to make it so that the dogs weren't being walked in there in some kind of a procession. So we took that out, and I asked for an aye vote.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, the question is the adoption of the Judiciary Committee report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The Judiciary Committee report is adopted. To the bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. House Bill 1220 is a bill about allowing comfort dogs in during a court proceeding. Testifying in court proceedings for most witnesses is a very stressful proposition. When the witness is a victim of a sexual abuse or another violent crime, testifying means the witness will actually have to recall the traumatic event. It's been demonstrated that a well-trained dog can alleviate stress in many different circumstances. Using a well-trained courthouse facility dog in the courtroom is a logical step forward and is less intrusive and prejudicial than several other forms. Both prosecution and defense witnesses have the ability to use it. It helps to establish a threshold for a minimum qualification for any dog sought to be used in the courtroom, and I ask for an aye.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of House Bill 1220. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. 1220 is passed. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 1224. Assistant Majority Leader Kennedy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move to proceed out of order for the consideration of Senate Bill 14.
Okay, we will proceed out of order to Senate Bill 14. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill Senate Bill 14.
Senate Bill 14 by Senator Quorum, also Representative Carver, concerning measures to reduce incidents of theft from retail establishments.
Representative Carver.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move the Judiciary Report to SB 14.
Would you like to move the bill, please?
Yes, Madam Chair. I move the Judiciary Report and the bill for SB 14.
To the Judiciary Report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Basically, what we did in SB 14 is because of concerns with Section 1, we eliminated that. which would have created a new crime of organized retail theft. And we kept, through a reconsideration process, the remaining sections of the bill. This provided a mechanism for stolen store cards, might be gift cards, might be refund cards, but for those to be registered by secondhand dealers in order for there to be, just like secondhand dealers do, a registration of other items based on serial number. It enables a mechanism to determine if it's stolen property. This registration of the store card would then provide a way to determine if those cards are stolen. And the other thing we did upon reconsideration is we narrowed the title to reflect that this bill just dealt with that registration requirement of the store cards by secondhand dealers. And I ask for an aye vote.
Representative Tipper.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to say that this was really a collaborative effort with Representative Carver. So we got the bill to a place where we could feel supportive, or let's say me as a member of the other caucus, and the plan is to work together on this going forward. I do have the paperwork to add my name as co-prime to the bill, which I forgot to do earlier, but just appreciate the opportunity to move this bill along. We've got it to a place where I think we're actually dealing with the problem without creating more issues.
Representative Carver.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I just want to thank Representative Tipper, Representative Wiseman, the Chair of Judiciary, for working in a collaborative fashion to address issues where we did have some agreement that we could move forward with that piece. And so I thank the committee.
Representative Liston. Okay, Representative Benavides, to the committee report. You're to the bill or to the committee report?
Committee report.
Okay, Representative Benavides.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And members, I sat in the Judiciary Committee, and we did have, as the sponsors indicated, a lot of discussion about this bill, and a good chunk of it was taken out. And what the amendment did was to keep the section, as the sponsors mentioned, regarding keeping a record of the sale of store credit and gift cards and merchandise cards. And that's an important function that they should do, because right now, think of it, if you're a pawn shop or you sell at a flea market, if you don't keep a record of what you're selling, it's not helpful to law enforcement. And I wholeheartedly agree on that. But what the amendment also did was keep in Section B on page 5 of the amendment, which creates a new crime. That is a new crime that didn't exist before. And it says, not only do you have to keep this journal, but if you make a mistake and you don't record even a single card, then you have committed a misdemeanor. Those single errors could be ministerial in nature, and so I don't like to create new crimes that it's not clear. In our discussion, they referred to other sections of the law that talk about credit gift cards under $30, but this law does not reference those sections of the law. They don't reference any kind of dollar limit. So I think of a gift card or a card, because I used to give these to staff at Thanksgiving time, a $10 gift card from King Soopers. Now, if you get those, you can go use it at a grocery store. If somebody stole a whole pack of those and then they didn't put down the serial number on any single one of them, they could be guilty of a misdemeanor. And this sale of that could occur at a flea market or a retail establishment or any other place that sells those kinds of goods. So I don't think the language for this new crime is clear in here. And I think it'll ensnare people who are just making ministerial errors. So I would ask that the committee report encourage a no vote on it.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the committee report for SB 14. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee report is adopted. To the bill, Representative Carver.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This bill is important because it provides the mechanism for these stolen cards to be registered by secondhand dealers like other items are required to be registered. And that helps law enforcement in identifying the stolen cards. It also creates a better deterrent against this kind of activity, and ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion? Representative Liston.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, I rise in support of Senate Bill 14. You know, this organized crime effort is really gotten out of hand. It's a huge multi-billion-dollar crime effort, and while this bill unfortunately doesn't cover all that it probably should, the journey starts with the first step, and at least we're forcing the retailers and others to recognize the fact that the gift cards, you know, are property and they do have value. I wish that there were other areas that could be covered, but I commend Representative Carver for starting the conversation on this. It's important that we address this issue because this organized crime effort where they come in and they can steal tens of thousands of dollars from a store, it's a huge crime effort and it needs to be taken care of. So I urge an aye vote on Senate Bill 14. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Representative Benavides.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I'm not going to restate all my remarks, but members, the sponsor is absolutely correct. There is a requirement to register the sale of all goods. Think of a bicycle that somebody takes to the pawn shop and has a serial number on it. They have to register it and they have to keep those. And there is no requirement right now for store credit, gift cards, or merchandise cards. So this bill adds those to the registry that has to take place, and that's a good thing. I think there's unanimity on that portion of it. This bill creates a second crime in paragraph B and classifies it as a misdemeanor. And think about it, when you, a pawn store or a pawn shop that is keeping this registry, if they don't do it, they get a class 3 misdemeanor, and that would probably be the owner of the pawn shop. But then if a flea market seller is an individual that's selling at the flea market, if they don't record the sale of a single card, then they also have a separate class 3 misdemeanor. This adds a completely new crime that didn't exist before. So even if when all you were registering were bicycles or other things that have a serial number, there was no second crime if you failed to put that down in your registry. And we are creating that as a new crime. So I urge a no vote on the bill.
Is there any further discussion? Representative Carver.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, respectfully to my friend Representative Benavides, we aren't creating a second crime. Adding the language to Section 1A for the cards, I specifically asked the bill drafter, is there any way to add the cards and the requirement to register the cards by the secondhand dealers without 1B? And he said, no, you need 1B. You need that language because of, again, it's not the plastic card that is the value. It is the encrypted value on the card and the mechanics of 1B. I should also mention that I struck the language that made the repeat offense bump up to a misdemeanor 2, which quite frankly it does for all other items. I got rid of that for the store cards. So, ask for an aye vote on the bill.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of Senate Bill 14. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senate Bill 14 is passed. Mr. Assistant Majority Leader Kennedy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move to proceed out of order for the consideration of Senate Bill 109.
Mr. Randall, please read the title of Senate Bill 109.
Senate Bill 109 by Senator Fenberg, also Representative Garnett, concerning adjustments to limitations on damages to reflect the effects of inflation.
Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's an honor to serve with you.
It is an honor to serve with you.
I move Senate Bill 109.
To the bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, this is a bill to increase and adjust caps based on inflation, and I would urge an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion? See coming? Mr. Minority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thanks for noticing me back there. Appreciate it. Members, again, this is just one of those bills that I get scared if we keep going down these roads and we keep allowing bills that will just make and create more costly litigation here in Colorado, that we are only going to increase the cost of living in Colorado even more. This is going to make it harder for businesses to operate. It's going to make it more expensive for them to comply with litigation. And again, all those costs are going to be rolled back into the consumer. And because of that, we are going to see even more rising costs of living in Colorado. So I urge a no vote.
Representative Buckenfeld.
It's an honor to serve with you, Madam Chair.
It is an honor to serve with you, Representative Buckenfeld.
Yes, the minority leader is absolutely right. This bill is going to hurt small business. The actual increase is about a 16.8% increase in potential insurance liability and premiums to small business. As we know that 85% of the folks out there working today work in a small business. Every time we continue to increase the expenses on small business, we're eliminating small business jobs. So I also ask for a no vote.
Representative McKean.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I urge a no vote on this. We had an invigorating discussion in Judiciary Committee, and part of that discussion was, what does the system look like today? And part of this system is something called prejudgment interest, which is an interest that is charged from the time that the suit is brought until the settlement, and that is currently at 9%. So when we talk about modifying what some of these statutory caps are, and we don't talk about what these underlying fees are, I think that we're only having half the discussion. I urge a no vote.
Representative Carver.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I voted against this bill in committee. You know, when you are looking at the way the bill was argued as, well, this is for inflation. But if you look at, as Rep. McKean said, the very inflated prejudgment interest, which is enormous, and you add that to the baseline, and then you put an inflation factor on top of it. Respectfully, this is not a fair and balanced approach to the damages issue, and I ask for a no vote.
Is there any further discussion? Representative Beckman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just have a question for the sponsors or anyone that heard this committee. So the bill adjusts damage limitations for unlawfully serving alcohol. Does this include the marijuana industry at all? Does this include deaths? Because I know that we have a lot of deaths on the highways now that have been related to excessive amounts of marijuana. So does this include other drugs that we legally sell, like marijuana?
Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It does not.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of Senate Bill 109. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no? No! The ayes have it. Senate Bill 109 is passed. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 1224.
House Bill 1224 by Representative Herod, also Senator Winter, concerning providing free menstrual hygiene products to people in custody.
Representative Herod.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move House Bill 1224 and the Judiciary Committee report.
To the committee report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move Amendment L003 to the committee report and ask it be displayed.
L003 has been properly moved and is before us. Please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Amendment L003 is some tightening up language, specifically to clarify that the feminine hygiene products should be provided to the women without barrier, so that, for instance, it can't be used as a punishment for a certain behavior or a sanction within our correctional facilities. I ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion? Representative Carver.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm a little surprised to see this amendment, to be frank. I supported this bill in committee. The language of the underlying bill indicates that it provides a fairly extensive list. Colleagues, I was actually hoping not to speak on this bill, just because it's such an interesting subject. But if you look at the bill itself, it provides a list of feminine hygiene products that are to be made available to the individuals in jail or DHS custody. So respectfully, I don't understand why that is, why we are now diverging from that approach to what is being proposed in the amendment, that it is whatever product is requested by the individual, as opposed to the fairly lengthy list of products already provided in the bill. So if the bill sponsor would address that, I just don't understand the change in language. And again, I voted for the bill in committee.
Representative Herod.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Representative Carver, for that question. It doesn't actually change that. So in the bill, we said they must provide these products, and there was an and. We heard from Sheriff Diggins about how, one option about how we can make that happen. This bill actually clarifies, based on some questions from some other committee members, to ensure that you don't just get, say, a panty liner, but not have access to the other products. And so it doesn't change that language. What it does is clarify that it's barrier-free, so that they can't restrict access to a certain product based on behavior or based on really any other problem. And the reason why we wanted to say barrier-free here was because of the testimony that we heard in committee where, you know, sometimes they don't need to have certain things on hand, but if it's requested by the female that they do provide that product as needed. And so this is just to keep it in line with best practices. So folks know Sheriff Diggins is the head of the president of the National Association of Jails, made some good recommendation around how to treat women with dignity and respect within custody. This conforms with that. It doesn't make a substantive change to the underlying bill, which is really to provide those products. And you saw that there was an and there, not an or.
Representative Carver.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Representative Herod. Well, respectfully, I think this does change the bill. The way, I beg your pardon. The way I read the language, it is not referencing or tying back to the list of products that are specified in the underlying bill, which my recollection, I guess I should have brought the bill up to read it, is 5 to 6 different products, which, and this applies across the board to incarceration facilities. So the city jails, the county jails, Department of Corrections. We added an amendment for those in DHS custody. So respectfully, I don't know why we would move from what I think is a reasonable approach to fairly open-ended language, not bound by the current bill language at all, as far as I can tell, that says any feminine hygiene product requested by an individual, you will provide at no expense. You will provide and at no expense. So I'm not quite sure why we're going down this road. And if the bill sponsor might address that, but otherwise I would urge a no vote. I think the underlying bill is a fair and reasonable bill. I don't understand the rationale for this amendment, respectfully.
Representative Herod.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And to be clear, we didn't actually change the underlying bill when it comes to the definitions of what a feminine hygiene product is. So that language was not touched and is not touched in this amendment. For folks' reference, the menstrual hygiene products means a tampon, menstrual pads, sanitary napkins, panty liners, menstruation sponges, and menstrual cups. These are all things that are essential for women. And right now, when we don't have them in correctional facilities, they are being used to barter and trade, which we'll talk about more as we get to the underlying bill. But this amendment doesn't change the definitions or the intent of the bill. So I'm not sure where the conflict or confusion comes into, but I guess there's no other way that I can clarify this. And if there's more questions, please do talk to the drafter of the amendment.
Representative Carver.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And again, not to belabor this, the way the bill reads right now, it says, you know, it gives a list of the jails, and then it says, whether operated by a government entity or private contractor, shall provide menstrual hygiene products to a person in custody at no expense to the person in custody. And then it defines menstrual hygiene products to mean tampons, menstrual pads, sanitary napkins, panty liners, menstrual sponges, and menstrual cups. The bill already says, provide these products at no expense to the person in custody, and to have this standalone provision that if it doesn't add anything, then I don't understand why you have an amendment. If you read it on its own, it seems fairly open-ended, and so to me, I assume it's doing something substantively, or you wouldn't offer the amendment. So what beyond the original bill is being done? It seems to me that the underlying bill is the right approach. And so I would request a no vote on the amendment.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L003. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no? The ayes have it. L003 is adopted. To the committee report.
Madam Chair, thank you. I ask for an aye vote on the committee report.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the committee report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee report is adopted. To the bill.
Members, thank you for the conversation on the amendment. I'm glad that we're to the underlying bill. As some of you might remember, a couple of years ago, during Long Bill, we had a conversation about the Department of Corrections denying women tampons within their facilities. We then found out that tampons were being used to barter, to trade, and to sanction. Women were having to trade sex for access to tampons. Let me talk about how humiliating that must be. I can only imagine what it must be like for a woman to be denied access to feminine hygiene products that she needs because she cannot afford to pay for them. Even further, we found out that women who soiled their clothes because they didn't have access to the right products, they were being sanctioned and were denied access to the commissary in some places. So you bleed through your clothes because you cannot afford to pay for a tampon, and then you get sanctioned and can't use the commissary to buy a tampon. That is so humiliating. But there's one more piece, because in the Department of Corrections, you were allowed to have a tampon if you could prove medical need to a male guard, typically, mostly males. That's not only humiliating for the woman, it's humiliating for the male guard who has to say, yes, I saw that she needed a tampon. So what we were doing was creating situations that were breeding this inhumane treatment of women. We passed that budget amendment without objection from this body. And the Department of Corrections has had no incidents, no issues implementing that law. Now we find out that our jails are still not complying with that process either. Now it's best practice. National jails are saying, the National Jail Association says this is a best practice, that this should not be used as a bartering tool. We heard from Chief Diggins in committee about how important this measure was. And yes, a lot of people don't want to talk about it. But I say if you don't want to say the word tampon, then you shouldn't restrict access to one. And so this bill is quite simple. It says that some women need a panty liner, some women need a pad, and yes, some women need tampons. Women's bodies are different. And we need to ensure that we are treating all women, especially those who are in our custody, with the respect and the dignity that they deserve. I ask for an aye vote on this bill. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Representative Carver.
Thank you, Madam Chair. While I'm not thrilled about the amendment that went on, you know, we did hear fairly compelling testimony in the committee hearing that there are instances where access to these feminine hygiene products are being used as a tool for leverage, for barter, sometimes to force, say, to the female inmates, well, you have sex with me, and then you can get access to feminine hygiene products. So there is abuses going on, which is why providing these services, providing these necessary items, I think is appropriate at no expense. So despite the amendment, ask for a yes vote on the bill.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of House Bill 1224. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. 1224 is passed. Mr. Randall, please read the title of Mr. System Majority Leader.
One second. Leslie, did you just want me to lay over until tomorrow? Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair. I move to lay over House Bill 1225 until tomorrow.
The House Bill 1225 will be laid over until tomorrow. Mr. Randall, please read the title of Senate Bill 106.
Senate Bill 106 by Senators Cook and Zenzinger, House Representatives Tipper and Larson, concerning additional process by which the Board of County Commissioners may initiate the withdrawal of current employees who are peace officers from defined contribution retirement plan offered by one or more local governments.
Representative Tipper. Thank you, Madam Chair. I move Senate Bill 19106 and the Transportation and Local Government Report.
To the committee report. Representative Larson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There was one amendment that was added in committee. Madam Chair, we may ask for a brief recess.
The committee will stand in a brief recess. Committee will come back to order.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Representative Larson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So in committee, there were 2 amendments adopted. One was to clarify that all new members that are hired after the department elected to join FPPA, that all new members would be automatically enrolled into FPPA. The additional amendment removed the requirement that 65% of peace officers participating in the election would vote to leave, and changed that to 65% of peace officers in the entire department.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the committee report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee report is adopted. To the bill. Representative Tipper.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I'll let my colleague talk about one of the reasons why this bill is so important. But in short, what this bill does is that currently county sheriffs are stuck in a retirement plan they do not like and they can't get out of it. So this bill gives sheriffs the opportunity to vote on moving into the FPPA defined benefit plan. It's a fully funded plan, and the mechanics of which are in the bill, but short and simple, that's what it does. And like I said, I'll let Representative Larson talk about the reason why this is so important to our county sheriffs.
Representative Larson.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you to my co-sponsor here. So, yes, both Representative Tipper and I represent Jefferson County, and our sheriff brought this bill to us to sort of address a frankly competitive disadvantage that the departments are placed in. Sheriffs are in a uniquely disadvantaged position where they are not allowed to offer membership in FPPA, which is the Fire and Police pension program. What this has resulted in our county and in several counties around the state is that municipal departments are able to poach employees because they are able to offer a more generous pension plan. I find myself in a strange position here as a Republican here supporting a defined benefit plan. However, there are a number of safeguards and unique quirks to this system that make this a worthwhile thing to support. First of all, the counties need to would need to approve. The boards of county commissioners would need to approve a sheriff's request to even hold an election in the first place. So those counties would be able to make sure that there's that they're fiscally able to handle this transition. Secondarily, we would need to get 65% of peace officers to agree to change their pension plan. So this would not be foisted upon by a simple majority or anything like that. It would have to be an overwhelming majority of peace officers. And third, and perhaps most important, it is important to recognize that peace officers do a fundamentally different job where, working past the age of retirement, you were working until the age of 65, just frankly may not be feasible. These are physically demanding jobs. There's a much higher rate of injury. Our own sheriff testified in committee that he had over 80 employees on some form of medical leave at the time when he was testifying. So we need to recognize that this is a uniquely difficult and physically demanding job that may require a more generous retirement pension that recognizes that they may not be able to do this into their old age. So with that, I would ask for a yes vote.
Representative Tipper.
Thank you. The other thing I'll add is that if the vote is successful, individuals who want to stay in their current plan can remain in the current plan. So it just offers the option for folks that want to move over into FPPA. And with that, I also ask for your support and a yes vote on this bill.
Representative Humphrey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And, I was a no vote in committee. I think that it's important to consider, again, as was mentioned, the contrast between a defined benefit and a defined contribution plan, and which way we should be going in terms of the fiscal questions involved in our state. I appreciate the amendments that were put on the bill, but I think I will remain a no vote. Thank you.
Representative Beckman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And so I am wondering if Colorado counties and counties across the state are supporting this. My concern is that, just a very practical concern, in Arapahoe County we have a defined benefit. If you had a police officer or sheriff's department employee that was on defined benefit plan for, let's say, 10 years and wanted to move to another plan, is that starting or is that rolling over the existing money that we have currently in a defined benefit plan and taking money out of what is established as a defined benefit plan in the county? Because that would have, in some counties, rippling effects, but the county commissioners have to approve it. I'm just wondering if it takes money from the existing plans and if it is for all years that they have worked.
Representative Larson.
Yes. Thank you, Madam Chair. And again, so the way that this was sort of described to me is that the counties that already offer a defined benefit plan would be unlikely to end up joining this. This is more for the counties that currently do not have a defined benefit that are currently utilizing the CORA plan. The way that the legislation is written is that it would be, once they've decided to join FPA or FPPA, that going forward those contributions would be gone. So my assumption would that if in the event a county with a defined benefit plan decided to join, or their peace officers decided to withdraw and join FPPA, that those contributions in the future would go to that plan and it would not be retroactive. We can get clarification on that just to make sure. But again, it was represented that the counties that already had a defined benefit plan would not be likely to exercise this option and withdraw because their needs are already met.
Representative Tipper. Just to add on to that, we did talk with CORA, CO, the other CORA, and they did not raise that as a concern. So my assumption is similar to Representative Larson's, that that would not be the case, that they would be pulling those funds out. But I don't know the answer.
Representative Beckman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And so my concern is that CCI doesn't support the bill, is my understanding. And I'm just wondering if, with employees at a county, a large county, you negotiate retirement and what you put in their retirement as a part of their salary. It's a total compensation. And it seems like this could move that out of to where it's more automatic, putting money into a retirement fund that you don't necessarily set. The amount of money going in would be set by another organization. And so I will be a no. I think if CCI isn't supporting this, maybe I just need to learn a little bit more. But for small counties, it may work. But I'm concerned for large counties, it could be a huge unfunded mandate.
Representative Tipper.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And CORA actually went neutral on this bill because of the changes that we made. I do believe that CCI remains opposed, but I think that's an important distinction, that CORA, which would be actually the entity most affected by this, is neutral on the bill.
Representative Larson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And then I also think it's an important thing to point out that CORA is a defined contribution plan. So withdrawing members from a defined contribution plan would hold all of those other members harmless, as opposed to a defined benefit where obviously then you're talking about there would be a greater impact to withdrawing members. So that is an important distinction to make where withdrawing the peace officer contingent from a defined contribution plan would not have the same impact on the financial stability of CORA in the same way that withdrawing a large chunk of employees from a defined benefit plan would. And again, it is important to emphasize that any time that this option is exercised, it has to be approved by that county's Board of County Commissioners first. And that county commission has a duty to make sure that this is a financially prudent decision for them to make before they would do it. So, this is, again, we need to trust our local officials that they're going to make a sound financial decision, so they would not put their county in a financially perilous position by authorizing a vote. And our sheriff was very clear that it's his job to make that case to the county commission. This just gives him the tool to be able to ask.
Representative Catlin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's an honor to serve with you.
And it is an honor to serve with you.
Thank you. I come down here today because, I'm not a financial wizard. I don't know where the money goes or how it gets there, but I do know that when the sheriffs in the state of Colorado ask us to do something, we probably ought to listen. One of the problems the sheriffs in the state of Colorado are having is recruitment and retention. And one of the biggest problems causing that is their retirement plans. What we're doing in the state of Colorado is we're allowing our sheriffs to do the training, the post, all of the things that we require, and immediately upon getting qualified, these individuals then start looking for jobs in police departments that pay better, that have better retirement, and those kind of things. We're missing the point on this one. We're missing the point. The sheriffs in the state of Colorado have asked for this to be done. In my district, Montezuma County, the sheriff in Montezuma County has worked on this for years. It's one of the biggest things in his department is to attract, hire, retain those deputies on his department. And it's happening all over the state, folks. Whether they're X's or Y's in regards to the deposits that are made aren't the point. It's whether or not we're staffing sheriff's departments in the state of Colorado at the rate we need to staff them. And when law enforcement comes to us and asks us for something, it seems to me that it's up to us to hear that. I know in the scheme of all the things that we're talking about in the state of Colorado, this is probably not a major item. But in my district, with one of the sheriff's departments in my district, this is a big item. Please, when you're voting on this one, remember the sheriffs asked for this. They came to the legislature with a plan, with an ask, and that's what we're doing today, is trying to do something that the sheriff's departments in the state of Colorado have asked for. Please vote yes.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of Senate Bill 106. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. 106 is passed. Assistant Majority Leader Kennedy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move the committee rise and report.
You've heard the motion. The committee will rise and report.
The House will come back to order. Mr. Randall, please read the report of the Committee of the Whole.
Madam Speaker, your committee whole big sleeve report is on administration, power, text, business, the recommendations are on House Bill 1030, Amendment House Bill 1179, Amendment House Bill 1194, Amendment House Bill 1213, House Bill 1220, Amendment House Bill 1224, Amendment passed through gross passage further crown passage. Senate Bill 14 is Amendment Senate Bill 106 is Amendment Senate Bill 109, passed ordered revised and placed on for third reading final passage. House Bill 1174 and House Bill 1225 are laid over until March 20th, 2019, retaining their place in the calendar.
Representative Michelson Janae. You have heard the motion and there are no amendments. The question before the House is the adoption of the report of the Committee of the Whole. Mr. Randall, please open the machine and members please vote.
Nothing to lay over, right? It's okay. What do you know?
Representative Hooton, Representative Byrd. Please close the machine with 51 aye votes, 14 no votes. The report of the Committee of the Whole is passed. Announcements and introductions. Representative Gray.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Transportation and Local Government, we will meet at 5 till 11 in room 112 to hear House Bill 1087 and House Bill 1221. We're going to talk about electric scooters. People get excited.
Representative Kraft-Tharp.
Thank you. Business Affairs and Labor. We have one bill today, Senate Bill 88 with Representative Tipper. We will be meeting about 11:15 in LSBA. Thank you.
Representative Weissman.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Judiciary members, just another reminder, because it is an unusual occurrence, we will not be meeting this afternoon. We're back to the regular on Thursday. Enjoy the time.
Representative McKean.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Folks, we had a really, really long committee in this building last night. So first of all, thank you to all the members of the Energy and Environment Committee for sticking around, for asking good questions. So thank you very much. Because this is such a topic that really is occupying kind of a central focus, you may or may not know that there has been formed the Energy Caucus for the House, and we are actually, with my partner, Representative Jackson, we will be hosting the very first Energy Caucus luncheon on Thursday at the U Club. And this is not, say that again, Jim? Is that Sportsman's Caucus? So one day this year you can go say hi to the Sportsman's Caucus and say thank you very much. We appreciate your being here, and then we're going to head down the street. What truly, and I'll let Rep. Jackson speak to this as well, what truly is unique about this is in an environment where we're all talking about this, let's start talking about the 30,000-foot picture of what all of these inputs look like, what this means to our state and to us individually. So we look forward to seeing you there on Thursday at the U Club for lunch.
Representative Jackson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And members, when I agreed to participate in this Energy Caucus, I let the organizers know that I was interested in hearing from all members of community, especially communities of color, and all across the state of Colorado. So we are expecting diverse and robust conversations. So if you'd like to join us, we'd love to have you. That is, if you have the energy.
Art.
Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. Representative McKean brought up the long night last night, and I just want to give a shout out to our sergeants for all of their work last night. You know, Channel 9 did a story on our sergeants and how polite they are and how much they help community members who come down to the Capitol. They interviewed John Judson, and so if you see a sergeant, thank a sergeant. Thanks again.
Thank you, Majority Leader Garnett, and thank you, sergeants, for your help last night. Representative Wilson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Colleagues, I wasn't going to get up and make this announcement, but I'm going to. Third Thursday every month is Sportsman's Caucus. It's been that way for years. So if you want to see renewable energy coming down on you, try scheduling something on Thursday, the third Thursday, opposite Sportsman's Caucus. So make your own choice this Thursday, but don't make that mistake again. Thank you.
Representative Valdez.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I just want everyone to know that up in the gallery with us, we have Chavez Huerta K-12 Preparatory Academy with us, and let's give them a round of applause.
Representative, Assistant Majority Leader Kennedy.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The State Veterans and Military Affairs Committee will be meeting this afternoon at 1:30 p.m. over in LSB-A to hear House Bill 1223.
Any other announcements or introductions? Assistant Majority Leader Kennedy.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move the House stand in recess until later today.
The House will be in recess till later today.